Blog Talk Radio.
How's it going, folks? And good afternoon or good evening to you. And thank you for tuning in to another early edition of True Conservative Radio. I'm your host, the man they call Ghost, and once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in with me. I'm sorry for not maintaining continuity with my regular scheduled program. The only reason that I'm having these early editions is because I'm thinking about going in a new times slot, if you will, and I'd like input on the audience on what would be more convenient for everyone who listens to me out there. So if you could, by all means, get back to the webpage, www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. My email is on there. Send me a message on when a time would be convenient to the audience out there. True Conservative Radio is going to be a little bit more frequent. We may do some more shows. It may be during the week as opposed to on the weekends specifically. And at the same time, it may be a little bit earlier, maybe around the time frame of 5 p.m. to about 8 p.m. Central Time. It's all up to you, folks. I mean, that's the only reason why I come up on here is because of the people that listen to me on a consistent basis, and I appreciate your patronage like always. You're the only reason why I come up on here, and I appreciate it genuinely. Now, the reason I'm coming up here today, we had an early edition of True Conservative Radio yesterday, and it was surprising to me that, you know, we had a whole bunch of not left-wing agitators, but we had Republican agitators coming into my chat room, spewing off all kinds of four-letter words, personal attacks, logical fallacies at yours truly. And it's unfortunate because I used to be a lifelong Republican. But I'm a conservative first and foremost, folks. I'm not going to go against my conservative principles just because I'm going to maintain loyalty to some party that it's turned its back on the root foundation of what it was built upon, and that's conservative principles. And you see, these Republicans, that's what they want you to do. And if you don't do it, they're going to resort to the same personal attacks, same four-letter words, same logical fallacies that these people on the left do if you don't oblige yourself to their political persuasion. And this is what I'm talking about, folks, and this is what I've been continuing to say. I am not voting for John McCain, no matter what these ridiculous radio BTR hosts on here try to shove down your hole. And I suggest if you're a true conservative, all right, or an old-school Republican who actually still believes in the old-school Republican principles, and the old-school Republican principles are less government, less taxes, less bureaucracy, less government in our faces. You could kiss all that goodbye with old John Liberal Turncoat McCain out here, and this is what these Republicans want you to do. These Republicans, the Republican Party has been hijacked by liberals, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to come up on here and do it show after show, and I'm going to call them out for what they are, and they're nothing but a bunch of bedwetting liberal long hairs that have hijacked the Republican Party, and then they wonder why the Republican Party is so split. Well, it's simple, folks. The Republican Party is going against its principles, and that's all there is to it. Now, I wanted to make it blatantly clear to everyone out there who listened to my show last evening and heard the absolute ridiculous four-letter words and personal attacks that were happening to me in my own chat room by supposed Republicans. I wanted you all to know, didn't you notice that when all these Republicans, you know, that ditzy, you know, bimbo, what's her name, Jen of the Jungle, political vindication, that ridiculous closet liberal, all these Republicans that were in here just trying to stir up all kinds of agitation, flapping their fat Cheeto-stained fingers on the keyboard, trying to divert everyone's attention from conservative principles and putting it on something completely different. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. The Republican Party has been hijacked by liberals, and they're trying to divert the attention from the actual problems at hand in America. And once I started confronting these people that were in my chat room that are supposed Republicans, once I started confronting them with the issues, what happened? What happened to that stupid, ridiculous, sentence fragment-ridden, airheaded, ditzy, bimbo, Jen of the Jungle, what happened to that ridiculous political vindication and all their Republican liberal goons that were in here talking garbage to me? What happened? What happened when I said, well, what about our dying dollar? Why don't you try to call me up right now and tell me something about our dying dollar? And you know what they did? They ran with their damn tail between their legs because they can't explain it. You want to know why they can't explain it? Because they know what's happening. They know it's true. The American dollar is being decimated, along with the American family, along with all the other issues I bring up on this show consistently. But this is what I'm talking about, folks. Once I started confronting them with the actual issues at hand that are going to actually pertain to American perspectives, and what I mean by that, I'm talking about the American dollar. And this was brought up yesterday, and we're going to continue that conversation because this is going to affect us all, folks. Whether you agree with some of the things I say, none of the things I say, you can agree to this. The American dollar is being decimated. It's being pretty much run down to a piece of paper. I mean, sooner or later, if you think if you think you're a baller, if you think you're some kind of a baller with big fat wads of cash in your hand that have American presidents on it, well, the way we're going, those pieces of paper are just going to be just that, a piece of paper. The American currency is being devalued, and nobody wants to talk about it. Haven't you noticed that? You can go to all these ridiculous wannabe Republicans on Blog Talk Radio out here, and not one of them are talking about the dying American dollar. They're trying to divert America's attention. They're trying to divert the listener's attention into ridiculous collateral matters that really have nothing to do with America. And that's all it is. That's all there is to it. And I'd like to thank the folks that are coming in and out of the chat room here. Stoke Newton, how you doing? How you doing, man? And he just posted here in the chat room, and the value of the dollar can go down. It's $2 to 1 British pound now. You're damn right. And this is a serious problem. None of these ridiculous liberal Republicans, because let me tell you something, Republicans are no longer Republicans anymore, folks. They're no longer, they're liberals. I mean, you can tell by this John Turncoat McCain, this prostate-infected old windbag piece of trash. Just look at the bills that he's initiated while he was in the Senate. Nothing but liberal-based legislation. He wiped his ass with the First Amendment with McCain-Feingold. He wants to give 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country right now, devaluing the cost of labor. John Turncoat McCain, as well as the presidential candidates on the left, they want to give these 20 million illegals amnesty. Amnesty. And you see, this is why American folks are having a hard time making it in this society. And you see these Republicans, and of course the people on the left, they want to dissuade your conscience from those matters. You know, they don't want you to even talk about the dying dollar out here. You know what I'm talking about? They don't even want to talk about how the average American family is having a tough time to support themselves. Because America doesn't produce anything anymore, folks. Don't you understand that? We don't produce a damn thing. The only thing we produce is entertainment and greasy cheeseburgers. That's the only thing we produce out here. Do we have any manufacturing plants out here? Absolutely not. Is there any textiles out here? Absolutely not. America and those ridiculous power-hungry autocrats in Washington signed international trade deals that are so imbalanced, that are so lopsided. That's why you have American companies shipping out the means of production outside of the United States, which is basically killing all American jobs. And on top of which, you got 20 million illegal immigrants that the average American worker has to compete with in their own homeland. And then they wonder why it's so tough for people to survive out here. Well, folks, wake up. Don't listen to these liberal Republicans. Don't listen to these left-wing, long-haired liberal bedwetting hippies on the left, because all these people are trying to perpetuate The only thing they're trying to perpetuate is the new socialist quasi-communist society that we're being transitioned into. Bottom line. That's the bottom line. And I've got Stoke Chris here, who's in the chat room, saying that political vindication doesn't talk about the economy because he doesn't know his ass from his elbow, and you're exactly right. I mean, all he does is talk about ridiculous collateral matters, about the war. And not to say that the war is a collateral matter, because I'm all for the war on terror, folks. But you see, I'm not for John McCain, okay? Because John McCain wants to extend the war, which I'm not against, folks. But he wants to extend the war into Pakistan, Syria, Iran, all in the name of sowing the seeds of democracy. Now, I pose this question to all of you once again. If John McCain's elected, and he's out here, you know, running roughshod around the international community, becoming some maverick, quote unquote, how can we go out and implement democracy in anywhere in the international community when we've got democracy being taken away from us right here in America? Because let me tell you something, as soon as John McCain is elected president, that's the first thing he's going to do. He's already wiped his ass with the First Amendment, and he's going to wipe his ass with the Constitution as soon as he's elected president, I guarantee it. He's not going to make it any better for the American family to bring itself up out of the shady situations that we're in. He ain't going to do it. On the contrary, he's only going to perpetuate more and more entitlement programs. You know, we just went through a tax season, and I know I always say this, but I'm going to say it again. This past tax season, women that are single, that literally have 5, 6, 7 different kids from 5, 6, 7 different fathers, these women are being rewarded this tax season with $2,000 a kid. Can you believe that? Just because they turned themselves into a baby factory, now they're being rewarded by our tax-paying dollars, okay? $2,000 a kid. Well, you know, old John Turncoat McCain, you know what he wants to do? He wants to up that price. Yeah, he wants to up that price to about $5,000 to $7,000 a kid. Can you believe that? He wants to reward the dissolution of the American family by upping the price to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a kid. And how is that perpetuating the American family, folks? And you see, this goes back to a issue that's near and dear to my heart: the American family. You know, I'm a foot soldier for the American family, folks. I'll do whatever it takes to save it, because nobody out here is giving two rat's asses about it. I mean, you've got the social ills that are turning into the social norms, and it's beyond social ethos, folks. It's beyond a social moral ethos. At this time, I think that the reason that you have a government that is basically perpetuating the dissolution and the complete decimation of the American family, the reason they're doing that is because it'll be that much of an easier of a transition into what we know of right here as democracy, what we know of as the republic, the constitutional republic that we live in. It'll be an easier transition to transition us to what we're doing right now, which is this quasi-socialist communist government that we're about to see here. And I feel sorry. You know, you got a lot of people voting for all the wrong reasons. I mean, all the wrong reasons. And nobody's talking about the devaluing of the American dollar. None of these people. As a matter of fact, you're not going to have anybody who's of the left of the political persuasion even acknowledge it. You know, everybody who's of the left is talking about handouts. Hand out health care. Hand out this. Hand out that. I mean, this is socialism, folks. We are seeing a transition from our democracy into a socialist government. Now, I used to think George Bush was a great president, and I still kind of think he is, but this stimulus package is a bad precedent, folks. And I know all of you need the money. Believe me, we all need the money. But the government giving us extra money is not the answer. That is just a slippery slope down into a communist, quasi-socialist government. I mean, what these politicians in Washington, what they need to do is take their Kentucky Fried Chicken grease thumb out of their derrieres, and they need to figure out how to stimulate the economy based on production. Because we are what we produce, folks. That's what creates jobs. It's production, innovation, technology. sort of thing. But we have these lopsided trade deals with communist China, with that ridiculous Mexico, and all these other third world nations that are out here. We've got these lopsided trade deals, and we're sending more and more economy into their geopolitical area, and yet we are losing we're losing the value of our currency, folks. You know that in New York City right now, and you can look this up if you don't believe me, in New York City you have high-end shops. You know, these real high apparel shops, these people that sell all this ridiculous overinflated garbage. You've got people in New York right now, New York shops accepting the euro. If you go in there with a Benjamin Franklin, a $100 bill, they're not going to accept it. They're going to turn you away, man. Can you believe that? In America, you got American businesses turning away the American dollar. Now, why is that? Why are they turning away the American dollar? Because they know, just like everybody who has any kind of foresight, any kind of horse sense, any type of common sense, they know that the American dollar is about to crumble. I mean, we've got so much debt. I mean, not only do we have so much debt on a government end, I mean, what are we, 4 trillion, 5 trillion in debt as far as government is concerned? But we're in debt as a people as well, folks. I mean, look at this subprime mortgage crisis. You've got people that can barely afford to pay their credit card payments anymore. I mean, you've got students that are out here going to college. What are they, about $50, $60, $70, $80,000 in student loan debt? And what's unfortunate about student loan debt is that once a student goes into the college, once a student gets out of college and receives that student loan bill of about $50,000 or $60,000, but they end up getting a job for about 40 G's, 50 G's, 60 G's a year, do they go and live modestly in a one-bedroom apartment, get a little cheap-ass Toyota Corolla, you know, that you know, brings down gas mileage? Do they, you know, kind of mize around, trying to make sure to save every penny so they can pay off that student loan? Hell no, they don't do that. You know what they do? They go out and they get the $200,000 house, they get the $60,000 car, they go and get $10,000 worth of furniture, and before you know it, they're in over their head, and for the next 50 to however long they're able to live this life, they're going to continue to pay debt. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. This American dollar of ours is going down the tubes because of all these factors. All of it. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody could give two rat's asses about it. I mean, Republicans used to talk about these issues, unfortunately, folks. You know? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Stoke Chris said student loans are the biggest ripoff. Of course they're the biggest ripoff, man. But you see, they've commercialized education, higher education, to the point where these ridiculous spoiled brat kids out here, these spoiled brats, they don't want to just go to the community college, build themselves up a pretty good GPA so they can get themselves scholarship, maybe a partial scholarship to a decent university. No, they don't want to do that. They want to put it all on the line for some ridiculous university because it's chic or it's the supposed credible university. You know, these ridiculous huge institutions that are charging about $30,000 a semester. These are where these students want to go to, and they don't want to take any no's or any ifs, ands, or buts about it. They just want to go. They want to say they went to these institutions, and then once they get out, what happens? They're managing a damn Starbucks. That's what's happening. You know, I came across a master's degree major in business, and where are they working? They're ringing up my purchase at a damn Barnes & Nobles. That's what's happening in America, folks. And this is sad. I mean, there's just so many factors on why our economy is going down the tubes, and people need to wake up about it. I mean, do I have the solution? I mean, I can only speculate, but if we focus more attention on our economy, I think that we wouldn't be in the dire straits that we're in today. And nobody's talking about it, and especially, I don't expect anybody who's of the left of the political persuasion to talk about it. I really don't expect them to. As a matter of fact, they're jumping for joy. I don't know if you folks have been out and about and have talked to anybody who's an ultra-leftist or even of the left of the political persuasion. They are jumping for joy. They think this is the greatest time in American history right now. They think that it just, optimism is, there's just so much optimism in the air. Optimism for what? Well, handouts. These people on the left, that's what they want, folks. They want government to give us everything. They want government to give us our house, our job, our car, our wife, our dog, our goldfish, our kids. I wouldn't be surprised, and I've said this before, I wouldn't be surprised if once whoever the hell's elected president, I don't care who it is, because they're all a bunch of liberals, they all want the socialist, quasi-communist agenda, whoever's elected president, I wouldn't be surprised if we couldn't even go into the damn bathroom without some bureaucrat sitting there trying to take a stool sample from us. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it if we were in our home, a passing wind, blowing a fart, and having some bureaucrat taking a whiff of it, for Christ's sake. I wouldn't doubt this crap. And nobody is talking about this, folks. Wake up, man. And I'm calling out all the Republicans out there. I'm calling all the Republicans out. Anybody who doesn't talk about our weakening dollar, anybody who doesn't talk about how much bureaucracy is in our lives, anybody who doesn't talk about how much regulation is going to be implemented in our lives, they're not a Republican, and I suggest to all you folks, even if you're an independent, no matter what your political persuasion is, you call these pieces of trash out too, because they're not Republicans. Call them out, folks. Say, hey, I thought Republicans were about less government. I thought they were about fiscal responsibility. I thought they were against government regulation. What happened? They're not going to tell you what happened. They're going to stumble over their own tongue like Al Gore trying to explain how he invented the Internet. Anyway, folks, I wanted to say hello to all the people that are in the chat room currently. How you doing, folks? I really appreciate you tuning in with me, and you'd be more than happy to go ahead and give me a call here at 646-652-4869. Once again, folks, this is a real scary time in American history. We are seeing a transition into a quasi-socialist communist government. These Republicans out here, the majority of them, they could care less. You noticed all these people that are supposed to be right-wing, supposed to be Republicans, they're not talking about the weakening dollar out here. And this is very scary stuff. You've got American businesses. It's in New York right now. High-end retail stores are no longer taking American money. They're not taking American money in America. They're taking euros. Can you believe that? They're taking euros in America, the euro dollar. Why is that? It's because the American dollar is tanking, folks, and unless we do something about it, unless people, get slapped back into reality and start realizing that our country is going down the tubes, that's the only way we're going to at least get a grip on this subject matter. And I don't understand why most of these Republican BTR Blog Talk Radio Network hosts don't acknowledge these problems that are happening right now. You notice none of these candidates are talking about it. Now, and if you don't believe me, hey, MD Conservative, go to the New York Times and look up euro dollar, and they will tell you that there are shops in New York City right now that are no longer accepting American money. They're no longer accepting American money. There are actually pop stars and rap stars. There's actually movie stars right now that don't want to be paid in the American dollar anymore. Jay-Z, that ridiculous wannabe gangster rapper when we all know he's a wannabe. They're getting paid in euros. They're not accepting any more American money. Can you believe this? They're not accepting any more American money. They want to be paid in euros, and I think that's a slap in the face, and that only perpetuates what's happening out here, folks. And why are they wanting to accept euros? Well, because euros are worth a hell of a lot more than American dollar. Now, what's devaluing the American dollar? Well, I'm telling you, folks, what's devaluing the American dollar is, first of all, our deficit, okay? And I'm talking about the government deficit. Everything that's going out. And I'm talking social programs, these ridiculous entitlement programs, all this ridiculous nonsense that the government is paying out to people. That's one, all right? Secondly, it's our own personal debt. All the people that, wanted to keep up with the Joneses and put everything on credit when they knew damn well they couldn't afford it, there's a big chunk of debt as it pertains to that scenario. And then you got to wonder about all the 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country that are ruining the American dream for real Americans that spilt blood for this country. 20 million illegal immigrants are devaluing the cost of labor. These folks will work for 25 cents on the dollar, and you've got the American family having to compete with that in their own homeland. And on top of that, folks, we don't produce anything anymore. We don't produce anything. Can somebody tell me what we produce besides entertainment and cheeseburgers? We don't produce a damn thing. There is nothing produced in America. Why is there nothing produced in America? Because we have these ridiculous, power-hungry autocrats in Washington that sign these lopsided trade deals with these ridiculous countries like communist China, Mexico, and other third-world nations out here. And you have the American family and the American person having to compete with these folks on the world market. I mean, you know that communist China, and believe me, folks, I hate China. I don't hate the Chinese people. I feel sorry. My heart goes out for the Chinese people. Those are subjugated folks that are the most oppressed people on the face of the planet. And yet, you know that the United Nations, our supposed, international consortium to perpetuate peace. Well, the great United Nations has given more humanitarian awards, believe it or not. They've given more humanitarian awards to China than anyone else. And you can look that up if you don't believe me. Look it up. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. I think we need to cut all diplomatic relations off with China and make the communist government that's over there choke on their own damn chopsticks, because I refuse, and this is why I am no longer buying Chinese goods. It's very hard to do so, believe me. I mean, if you look on everything, everything's made in China. But I am not buying anything from China. You know what I try to do? Because everything, like I said, folks, there's nothing produced in America. You're not going to find made in America anymore on anything, because we don't produce nothing anymore. But all I can do to contribute is to look for a country that still believes in democracy. You know, if something's made in India, I'll buy it because they're a democracy. If something is made in Taiwan, I'll buy it because they're a democracy. I refuse to give more money to this ridiculous China. And let me tell you something, communist China, America's going to wake up and tell y'all to piss off because that's what you deserve. You know, all this money we're sending to China, what is China doing with that money? They're building up their military. They're buying nuclear warheads and directing them right at the United States of America with American money. That's what's happening. And who's talking about this? Is there any Republicans out here talking about it? Absolutely not. Are any of the candidates out here talking about it? Absolutely not. They're not talking about a damn thing. None of these candidates. You've got people on the left talking about handouts, so let's give them handout health care. Let's give this, let's give that. You even got John McCain talking about handouts. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, folks, this is a very scary time for Americans out here. I'm talking about true conservatives, true American people that believe in the Constitution, that believe in all the principles that made this country. This is a very turbulent time. We are seeing a transition from our our constitutional republic that's based on democratic principles. We are seeing that transition into a quasi-socialist communist government, and no one is talking about it. No one is even mentioning it. I mean, everybody's too worried about superdelegates and, putting Kentucky Fried Chicken grease thumb up their derrieres and saying, oh, look, my candidate's beating your candidate. And yet they don't even know what their candidate's about, folks. You know that? I had a woman call up saying that she's going to vote for Barack Hussein Obama because he has nice teeth. I had a gentleman call me up last evening saying that he's going to vote for Hillary Rotten Clinton because Bill Clinton kept us out of war. And what's unfortunate about this man, Bill Clinton went to war with Serbia, and it was completely oblivious to this man. But that just goes to show you the lack of intellectual curiosity that's happening in America today. And you don't have to be an articulate intellectual to have common sense, folks. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it doesn't take a brain scientist just to look around you and seeing, hey, it's a little hard for us American folks out here. Real American people. I'm not talking about, people. I'm not trying to make it a racial thing because, people try to come in my chat room and agitate with racial inequality and that sort of thing. Look, I'm talking about African Americans, Hispanic Latino Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, Indian Americans. I don't care what race you are. If you have ancestry that has fought for this country, that helped build this country, that spilt blood for this country, by God, you're an American. And I care about what happens to you. I care about what happens to me. I care about what happens to this country. But you see, all the Republicans out here, and the Republicans that were in this chat room last evening talking all kinds of garbage to me, Jen of the Jungle, which has absolutely no credence whatsoever in what she stands for, all they were doing was talking garbage, flapping their fat fingers on the keyboard, calling me all kinds of names. And yet when I approach them, and this is what the foundation of this show is today, the devaluing of the American dollar. Once I challenged political vindication, once I challenged Jen of the Jungle to give me a call and let's talk about the devaluing of the American dollar, which you people don't talk about, what happened? They left my chat room with their tail between their legs because they know I'm telling the truth. They know that this country's headed for a disaster, but they don't even want to acknowledge it, man. They don't want to acknowledge a damn thing. And I care about this country, man. I love this country. I don't know about you folks, but I love this country. I love democracy. I love the Constitution. The Constitution is one of the greatest documents in world history. It gave man unalienable rights that weren't given to man previous to that document. It gave a separation of powers. It provided the rule of law. And yet we are losing it, folks. We're losing it. Anyway, if you have an opinion, you want to call up and talk about the American economy, whatever it is, give me a call right now. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. We'd like to hear from other folks out there. If you've got an opinion, by all means, give me a call. I'll give you the forum to provide discourse. If you disagree with me, if you think the American dollar is just great, if you think the American dollar is just great, well, then come on down. Come on down. But it's not, folks. And we're headed for disaster. And I feel for everybody who's completely oblivious to this fact. And that's why I'm not voting, man. I am not voting for John McCain. I will not contribute to the destruction of this country. And you have Republicans that are trying to spin that, saying I'm an unpatriotic bastard, or I'm helping the left, or whatever they're trying to insinuate. But the bottom line is, I will not be on the record as with my vote for any of these candidates. That would only show that I'm helping the destruction of this country, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to contribute to the destruction of this country. And I don't care what people say about me on this Blog Talk Radio Network. I know they've dedicated many shows to yours truly, trying to spread slanderous lies about me, calling me all kinds of four-letter words and saying all kinds of garbage. But the bottom line is I'm telling you the truth, man. I mean, anything I say, you can look it up and find it as fact. Fact. They're in New York right now in high-end clothing stores, high-end retail stores, and they're not accepting the American dollar anymore, folks. You can look that up. That is not a joke. All right? You've got stars, movie stars, rap stars, entertainment stars no longer wanting to be paid in American money anymore. They want to be paid in euros. That's a fact. You can look that up. The American dollar is being devalued to the point where it's only going to be worth the paper it's on, and that's what it is, a damn piece of paper. You can look that up. This is serious, folks. This is very serious. I don't understand what Republicans, and I'm talking about the old school Republicans, folks, old school Republicans that believed in fiscal responsibility, that believed in less government, that believed in less regulation, that believed in the American spirit, for Christ's sake. Now you've got them all submitting to this liberal agenda that is happening right before our very eyes. And all I want people to do is talk about it. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to think that everything I say is gospel. This is America. We still have the freedom of thought, or at least for the time being. We've got the freedom of thought. I don't know what's going to happen if any of these candidates are elected. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they abuse their power and take away our freedom of speech, for Christ's sake. I wouldn't be surprised here in the next year and a half we wouldn't be able to have these conversations here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. I wouldn't be surprised, man. And everybody always says, well, you're off your rocker, Ghost. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. Take a look at the legislation of all these people, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, folks, the number again right here, 646-652-4869. We're talking about the devaluing of the American dollar. We're talking about the destruction of the American Constitution. We're talking about the destruction of what we know of as America that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about. They're sitting there tickling their asses thinking that everything's okay when it's not okay. It's not okay, folks. And all I'm asking you to do, I'm not telling y'all to do anything specific. All I'm saying is talk about it. You know, talk about it. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about it with your family. Relay the information. Because the American dollar is soon to be absolutely moot, if you will. And Stoke Chris said in the chat room about the economic stimulus package, let me tell you something, I completely disagree with the economic stimulus package. It is a slippery slope down, socialism, man. It's socialist communism right there. I mean, when the government has given the people the money to go spend, I mean, that is socialism, man. And you know what's funny is that, what is it, $150 billion stimulus package? We are borrowing that money from communist China. And what are these people going to do with these $600, $1,200 checks? Well, they're going to go to Walmart and buy Chinese goods, for Christ's sake. Or they're going to pay their credit cards or something of that nature and continue to buy Chinese goods. You see, folks, this is an anomaly that needs to be exposed out here. All right, you need to be calling your congressman, you need to be calling your senator and saying, look, we don't want to deal with China anymore. We don't want to deal with China. You know, I find it funny. You know, I was on another show listening in, and they were talking about how Steven Spielberg is such a great guy. He's so great because he stepped down as being the creative director for the Chinese 2008 Olympics. Now, did he step down because of the gross humanitarian atrocities that the Chinese people inflict on their own people? The one-child-per-couple policy, the forced abortions, the Russian-style gulags they have for political prisoners? No. You see, Steven Spielberg didn't relinquish himself from the responsibilities of being the creative director of the 2008 Chinese Olympics because of that. No, it was because of Darfur. You know, the left really likes to use Darfur whenever they have it in their pocket, you know. They try to play it as a hand on the table. And you see, it really made me sick. You know, you had these people on the left praising Spielberg, that he's such a great guy for stepping down from the 2008 Chinese Olympic creative director, whatever the hell he was doing, because of Darfur. What he should have done is say, you know what, I'm not going to accept the job, I'm not going to accept money from a communist government that oppresses their people, that puts them in prison if they don't oblige themselves to the communist dictatorship, that force their people to have abortions, that kill every girl that's born in their country. You know that in China right now, there are 4 men to every 1 woman in China. And that's a fact. Now, why is the Chinese government doing that? Because they're getting ready for war, folks. They're getting ready for war. And what are we doing? We're helping them. We're helping them by giving them all our money. This $150 billion stimulus package, we're borrowing it from communist China. And what are people going to do with those checks that they get? Well, they're going to go to Walmart and they're going to buy Chinese goods. It's stupid, folks. This is a stupid paradigm we're living in here. And I absolutely refuse to put any more money in communist China. I refuse to do it. And I think Spielberg is a jerk-ass. And if you happen to know his email, please email him this particular show to his email address and tell him a good F you for me. You know, he's trying to put himself, you know, with a good PR move. Oh, I'm not going to do the Olympics because of Darfur. You shouldn't be doing the Olympics because of communist China, you piece of crap. Here you are, a billionaire, and you are going to fatten your pockets even more with communist money. But you're trying to put your own spin on it, Spielberg, and I'm not an idiot. I am not an idiot. Anyway, folks, it's a real sad situation we're living in, man. We have a devaluing American dollar that nobody's talking about. And this is very concerning to me because the American dollar is going to be worth jack. It's going to be worth nothing here if we continue down this ridiculous road we're going in. Uncontrollable spending, uncontrollable debt, these imbalanced world trade deals. I mean, we need to go back to the international trading debating table or negotiating table and negotiate some better deals for America. I mean, the American family is suffering because not only do they have no jobs to go to out here as far as manufacturing, textile, anything produced, all the means of production are outside the United States. They're in Mexico, they're in China, they're in these third world countries that, like I said, we have lopsided trade deals with. We've got all those jobs leaving America, and yet you've got to worry about the people that are coming in here illegally that are working for 25 cents on the dollar. That's right, 25 cents on the dollar that are devaluing the cost of labor. And if you want, folks, take a look at your nearest, depending on what part of the country you're in, take a look at your nearest Western Union on a Friday evening and see how many folks are sitting there wiring American dollars that they're making here in America illegally. They're wiring it from here to wherever the hell they're from. And that's a fact, folks. That's a damn fact. And why nobody's talking about this, I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, can somebody call in and tell me why nobody's talking about this garbage? I mean, you know, none of the Republicans or supposed Republicans that are out here in the Blog Talk Radio Network are talking about any of this garbage. All they're doing is tickling their poop chutes, you know, thinking that everything's fine and dandy when everything isn't fine and dandy. We've got a liberal in the Republican Party. The whole Republican Party's been hijacked by liberals. And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about the devaluing American dollar. Nobody wants to talk about rights being stripped away from Americans. No one wants to talk about this crap. People are talking about collateral garbage that means absolutely nothing to the betterment of American people. Nobody's talking about this garbage. Please, somebody call me and tell me what the hell's going on here. Tell me what's going on. 646-652-4869. That's the number to call. Give me a call right now. I want to know. I want to know. But once again, folks, I don't know what to say. I'm in complete awe. In complete awe about what in the blue hell is happening here in our own homeland. All right? Right here in America. We've got more money going out than we're producing. I mean, we've become a society of consumers. All right, I mean, that's all we are. We produce absolutely nothing. This is very concerning. It should be very concerning to everybody out there that we produce jack crap. The only thing we produce is entertainment and cheeseburgers. That's it. And if we don't produce anything else, we're going to be going down the tubes. This is why we're seeing the systematic transition from what we know of as America into a quasi-socialist communist government. No matter who's elected, whether it's Barack Hussein Obama, whether it's Hillary Rodham Clinton, whether it's John Turncoat McCain, it really doesn't matter who's elected because they're going to put more government bureaucracy in our faces, more government regulation. They're going to wipe their ass with the Constitution. They're going to provide more and more handouts to folks instead of providing jobs and job opportunities for people out here. They're going to continue to perpetuate this. We are seeing a transition in here. None of these candidates are talking about the devaluing dollar. None of these candidates are talking about how shops in America are no longer accepting American money. Can you believe that? In America, there are shops not taking American money. You can look that up, New York Times. It's ridiculous. Absolutely, utterly sickening. And what are the people on the left talking about? What are they talking about? Oh, well, let me just give it to you. How about that? Let me give you handout health care. Let me give you this. Let me give you that. That's not what America was built on, folks. America wasn't built on handouts. America was built on work, was built on labor, was built on family, was built on patriotism. That's what it was built on. It wasn't built on handouts. And you can look this up, folks. Every socialist scheme of social order in world history has failed. All of them. They failed. There has not been one successful socialist garbage social experiment that has been successful. And you see, nobody's talking about it. None of these people. Of course, people on the left, they could care less. They're jumping for joy that we're transitioning into a socialist communist society. You know? You know what I'm saying? They're jumping for joy. I mean, they're loving it, for Christ's sake. They're having dances in the street because they know that they're finally going to get handed out everything they ever wanted. This is what these liberals want. They want everything given to them. I mean, you even got John McCain over here talking about handouts. Like I stated previous, folks, this past tax season, every woman that's out there who's shitted out about 5 or 6, 7 different kids from 5 or 6, 7 different fathers, that's single, all got rewarded this tax season with $2,000 per kid. That's right. And you can look that up. $2,000 of your tax-paying dollars per kid. But you see, you got John Turncoat McCain over here saying that's not good enough. We should give them $5,000 to $7,000 a kid. Yeah, that's what he said. We need to give these people $5,000 to $7,000 a kid. You notice that they're not talking about giving the American family squat. You know that you've got government institutions that are out here, especially in this ridiculous handout entitlement sector of the government. Whenever a family needs help and they go to these ridiculous welfare handout, sectors of the government, and they go ask for help, you know that these people, these social workers, they advise women to leave their husbands. They advise them to leave their husbands so they can get more money. And it's a fact. I can name a whole bunch of people that this has happened to. They go in, they're asking for a little help because we're having a turbulent economy. The jobs are leaving America. They have to compete with 20 million illegal immigrants that'll work for 25 cents on the dollar. And they go in, they ask for a little help, and you know what they say? Well, we can only give you this much, but if you left your husband and you lived on your own, we could give you subsidized housing, we can give you free government cheese, we can give you welfare, we can give you everything. And you see, this is our government that's perpetuating the decimation of the American family. And you want to know why it is? Because it's a lot easier to transition into a quasi-socialist communist government based on a whole bunch of single-parent families that can't support themselves, as opposed to an American family that has the motivation to do whatever it takes to raise their family, to raise their children. That's why they want to decimate the American family. Right there. They want an easy transition into this socialist, quasi-communist crap that we're going into. They want an easy transition. Because if you have a whole bunch of American families, which used to be the majority of America, if you have a whole bunch of American families, they're not going to want to transition into that garbage. They're going to want the American dream that we fought for, that we spilt blood for, that we built this country for. That's what they want. I mean, every American family, every person that's a family unit out there, they do whatever it takes, whether it's working 15 hours a day, whether it's breaking your back to put food on the table, a roof over their heads, clothes on their families' backs. They'll do whatever it takes, but if you've got single-parent families with, and typically females are the ones with the children because we have such a gender-biased justice system thanks to this feminist liberal movement, they always get the children. Well, what happens? Well, you've got a dependent society that wants entitlements, that wants handouts, that don't have the motivation to go out and work. And this is why it's an easier transition from what we know of as our great society, the United States of America. We're transitioning into something I don't even know. And, of course, none of these Republicans that are out here talking all kinds of garbage to me, none of them are talking about any of these subject matters. And every time they come into my chat room and attempt to, I don't know what they attempt to do, but all they do is spread all kinds of four-letter words, personal attacks, logical fallacies at me. That's all they do. They want to divert my listeners' attention from the actual problems at hand that affect us all. Whether you're in the left of the persuasion, right of the persuasion, these issues affect us all. This devaluing of the American dollar is going to affect us all, folks. All right, these lopsided trade deals that we have with these third world countries, they affect us all. These 20 million illegal immigrants that are in here devaluing the cost of labor, they affect us all, damn it! Wake up! Wake up! That's all I'm asking y'all to do, man. That's all I'm asking you to do. And look who we have here. We got political vindication that just came into the room. Let's see how long it takes for him to flap his fat Cheeto-stained fingers on the keyboard talking garbage to me. Let's hear about that. You know, instead of doing that there, political vindication, why don't you talk about the devaluing of the American dollar? Why don't you talk about that? You're a Republican mouthpiece out here. You're the one that always gets these ridiculous interviews with these supposed Republican mouthpieces. Why don't you tell us right now what you plan to do about our dying American dollar? And don't run away with your tail between your legs like you did yesterday when I confronted you about this issue. Why don't you tell me something? Give us some substance, Mr. Liberal Republican. You know, come on, I want to hear your perspective. You came into my chat room yesterday evening talking all kinds of garbage, you know, saying all kinds of four-letter words and all kinds of garbage to me. Why don't you tell me and everybody else what you, Mr. Liberal Republican, plans to do about the devaluing of our American dollar? How about that? Why don't I ever hear you or any of your Republican goons out there talking about these issues that actually affect American folks? I don't ever hear you talking about it. As a matter of fact, I think you might be paid by the liberal agenda to dissuade people from actually thinking about these subject matters. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you want to dissuade people from thinking about these subject matters. And what are the subject matters at hand here? The devaluing of the American dollar. The fact that in New York right now, in retail shops all across New York, they're no longer accepting the American dollar. They're accepting euros. So you can go into one of these high-end retail stores out here in New York City right now. This is provable. You can Google it. You can look it up for yourself. It was in the New York Times, that liberal rag piece of trash. It is a fact. You can go in there with some Benjamin Franklin's big fat wads of cash. You can go in there. Go in there with a big fat wad of cash and say, look, I want to buy this, this, and this. And if it has American presidents on it, they're not going to accept it. They're going to turn you away if you have American money. They're going to turn you away if you have American money. And I wanted to thank everybody in here in the chat room. Thank you for tuning in with me. And like I said to all you folks, you don't really have to agree with everything I say. We still have the freedom of thought for the time being. We still have the freedom of thought out here. I mean, all I'm asking is for some substance. That's all I'm asking. I mean, and none of these Republicans out here, you know, these Republican mouthpieces that are all over BTR, they're not talking about the devaluing of the American dollar. They're not talking about New York shops out there that are high retail end stores in New York not accepting the American dollar anymore and accepting euros. They're not talking to the American people about, hey, we're not producing anything anymore, folks, and if we don't produce anything, that's not going to bring us any more jobs. They're not talking about any of this garbage. They're not talking about anything. And that's all I'm saying, folks. I mean, I challenge them. I challenge all of them right now. Give me a call, 646-652-4869. Give me a call right now. But you know what? You're not going to have any of these Republicans give me a call. You want to know why? Because they don't want to talk about these issues I'm talking about. No. They want you to maintain your loyalty to the party. And what's loyalty to the party? That means going against your own principles, whether you're a conservative or not. But let's just say you're an old-school Republican that still believes in fiscal responsibility, that still believes in less government, less bureaucracy. They want you to vote against those principles so you can vote for this John Turncoat liberal McCain. That's what they want you to do. John Turncoat McCain that still wants to do all the business with China. John Turncoat McCain that still wants these ridiculous lopsided trade deals that have sent American jobs outside of the United States. John Turncoat McCain that wants to give 20 million illegals amnesty. And we have people that have come into this country legally that are in line, that are waiting patiently. That are waiting patiently to get in here. And I don't think it's fair for those folks that are going through the channels to get into this country legally and giving these people amnesty because they came in here illegally. But you see, it's really not about the humanitarian spin that these ridiculous liberals try to give to this immigration policy. What it comes down to is that these 20 million illegal immigrants are devaluing the cost of labor for everyone in America. So on top of which, let's just check this out. Not only do we have jobs leaving America thanks to these lopsided world trade deals, and that's just rendered us impotent economically. I mean, you folks have to agree that we don't produce anything anymore. There's no manufacturing in here anymore. No textile industry, nothing. And the only thing we produce is entertainment and cheeseburgers. And you see, when the American family goes and looks for a job, those are the only industries that that they have to choose from. Either that, or the financial industry, or the medical industry. And the medical industry at this point is about to be nationalized. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And political vindication, if it wasn't you, I don't know who it was under your name, they came in here and spewed off a bunch of nonsense. And when I challenged them to call me up and say, hey, look, if you think that I'm a bad guy because I won't vote for McCain, why don't you call up right now and tell me why you think McCain's such a great guy when he goes completely against not only the conservative principles, but the Republican principles. The old Republican principles, not this new Republican Party that is embracing liberalism. And you know what? All the person you did, or whoever was using your name did, was spew off four-letter words, all kinds of garbage. All they did, and they left the room. They left the room because they knew it's true. And everybody that was in the room yesterday knew it. They were laughing at you and Jen of the Jungle because y'all both left. Y'all both left with your tail between your legs after I questioned both of you and told you, look, what do you think about our devaluing dollar? What do you think about New York high-end retail stores accepting euros and not accepting American money? What do you have to say about that? Y'all left. All right? You left. So the bottom line is I'm not voting for any of these people. That's all there is to it. And by all means, if you're listening in, give me a call right now. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. And it doesn't matter what your opinion is. Just give me some substance, man. Get on the phone, give me some substance. Tell me why the devaluing of the American dollar is a good thing. Tell me that. And tell everybody who's listening why it's a good thing that we should give 20 million illegals amnesty. Tell me why that's a good thing. I challenge you, man. Give me a call. Give me a call and tell me why it's a good thing that New York retail outlet stores out here are accepting euros. Tell me why this is a good thing, and I will give you the forum to do so. But you're not going to do it. You know what? And let me tell you something. If somebody has the balls, all right, if somebody has the balls to call up, and I don't care what political persuasion you are, I don't care if you're a left-wing, long-haired, liberal, bedwetting hippie, or one of these new liberal Republicans, I don't care what you are. I challenge you, if you think what I'm saying is a bunch of malarkey, call me up and tell me why it is. Tell me why it's a good thing that the devaluing of the American dollar is a good thing. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. I want to thank everybody for listening in right now. We are approaching the second hour of True Conservative Radio. You can call in with your opinions. Give us a call right now. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. I will give you the forum just as long as you provide substance. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. That's all I want. I mean, you know, this is a serious time in America, folks. We are seeing the systematic transition from what we know of as America into a quasi-socialist communist government. And nobody's talking about it. None of these Republican Blog Talk Radio Network hosts are talking about it. I think the only one I've heard talk about it a little bit was Freedom for Cuba. And the only reason Freedom for Cuba is talking about it is because he's seen it, man. He was in Cuba. He saw how Cuba at first, you know, was just in small increments, slowly but surely turned into that communist regime that we come to know out there in Cuba. And Castro, he's ruled that country for 50 years with an iron fist. And I don't want that to happen to the United States, folks. I still believe in the United States Constitution. I still believe in America. All right, I still believe in American freedom. I still believe in the freedom of speech. I still believe in all of the inalienable rights that were given to us. I still believe in that garbage. And it's unfortunate. It's absolutely unfortunate. And Freedom for Cuba just announced, and we'll go ahead and talk about this, Kosovo has announced its independence. And Putin, Russia, and Serbia have denounced it, and they think they might take action against it. Well, this just goes to show you that communism is alive and well. And communism still needs to be dealt with, in my view. As a matter of fact, I think we've got a bunch of closet communists. I mean, well, I shouldn't say closet communists on the left, because they're blatant communists. If you compare a speech between Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and compare it to a Hugo Chavez or a Fidel Castro, it's a damn carbon copy. It's a damn carbon copy. So there's no hiding the fact that those people on the left want communism. But it's also taken foot on the right of the political persuasion. I'm a lifelong Republican, folks. I mean, I was voting Republican before it was chic to do so. And now you've got the Republican Party who's been hijacked by liberals. They're telling Republican folks to go against their own principles. And it doesn't mean conservatism anymore. I mean, at first I talked about how the Republican Party has turned its back on conservatives, but it's turned its back on Republican principles, folks. I mean, bottom line, they're going against Republican principles. And what are the Republican principles? Less government, a fiscal responsibility, American freedom, that sort of thing. They don't even want to hear it anymore. All right, they don't even want to hear it anymore, and that's all there is to it. All right, and here we go again, political vindication. I challenge you, instead of flapping your fat Dorito-stained fingers on the keyboard, why don't you give me a call and give me some substance right now? Right now, 646-652-4869. By all means, give me a call if you think that I'm wrong. I challenge you, political vindication. Give me a call and tell me and everybody who's listening right now, since you're a Republican mouthpiece, give me a call right now and tell me why it's okay for the American dollar to be devalued. You tell me why it's okay that, New York retail shops are accepting euros and not accepting American dollars. Come on, call in. Right now, I challenge you, and if you don't call in, you're just sticking a Kentucky Fried Chicken grease thumb up your derriere because you like the way it feels up your poop chute. You fruity piece of trash. Give me a call right now. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And there's nothing you can say about it. I mean, I challenge you. Get on the phone and give me a call. But you're not going to do it. You're just going to continue to flap your fat fingers on the keyboard, and you want to divert the attention away from what's happening in America. You want to divert the attention. You want, you want the American person to be so anesthetized with these collateral manners that's all you're willing to do. All right? I mean, that's all there is to it. And you know what? Political vindication is not going to call up. You want to know why he's not going to call up? Because he knows I'm telling the truth. I wouldn't be surprised if he's being paid, all right? I wouldn't be surprised if he's being paid by liberals right now. I wouldn't be surprised. And if he's not being paid, well, then he's selling himself out for nothing. That's right. He's selling himself out for nothing, and he comes pretty cheap. I would think that he'd be a soulless cash whore, but if he's doing this for free, well, he's an absolute idiot. You know, I mean, that's all there is to it. Wanted to say hello to Heather that just came into the room. How you doing? This is another edition of True Conservative Radio. We're having this a little bit earlier than usual. I wanted people's input out there on what time I should particularly have this show. We're going to have it a little bit more frequently, that sort of thing, because I think that there are some issues on here, that there are some issues that need to be talked about that none of these, I'm talking about the Republicans. I could screw the left, all right? All those left-wing, long-haired, liberal, bedwetting hippies, I could care less about them. They blatantly want communism. They don't hide it. You can compare the speeches between Hillary Rodham, Barack Hussein Obama, compare their speeches to a damn Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro speech, and it's a damn carbon copy. So it's no question that they want that, okay? But what I'm saying is, you got Republicans that are on Blog Talk Radio Network right now that aren't speaking one bit about the devaluing of the American dollar. They're not speaking one bit about our deflating American economy. They're not talking one bit about any of these subject matters. And they're not going to. Because this is a new transition of power, folks. This is a new transition of power from what we know of as America into socialist, quasi-communist government. And that's all there is to it. And as a matter of fact, I think we got political vindication on the line. And before I put them on the line, folks, remember, this is supposed to be a Republican mouthpiece. This is supposed to be one of the big, bad Republicans out here. And I'd like for him to explain to us right now why it's okay for high-end retail stores in New York City not to accept the American dollar. I want him to explain why it's okay to continue to devalue the American dollar, why it's okay to turn against your principles as a Republican to vote for such a liberal like John McCain. So go ahead. You're on the horn here. Hold on, let me get you on here. Oh, this stupid BTR. Hold on, I gotta log back into my switchboard. Hold on there, Pete, political vindication. We're going to put you on the horn here because I'd like for you to defend yourself. But this Blog Talk Radio Network is not working with me. Here we go. All right, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I've got to defend myself from lies from you, Ghost.
What lies? Just name them.
Why would I ever say the devaluation of the American dollar is a good thing?
Yeah, I don't hear you ever talking about it. I don't hear you talking about it.
Our show's been on a year. We've talked about it several times. The devaluation didn't start yesterday, Ghost. It's been going on for years.
I know. Well, how come the Republicans aren't talking about it? How come John McCain isn't talking about it?
Well, it's not a particularly popular thing for Republicans to talk about, since most people blame it on George Bush.
Well, actually, we could blame it on a lot of people, but the bottom line is that the devaluing of the American dollar is being so depleted at this point that we have American businesses that are no longer accepting American money. Why is that?
Well, in New York, they just had their Fashion Week where they have people from all over the world coming into New York. You had a bunch of stores like Macy's say they were going to take the euro because during that specific time in New York, you have a bunch of out-of-country people coming in to buy high-priced items. So they're, just like capitalists do, they're enticing them to come to New York and use the money that they have. The euro right now is worth more than the dollar. You know, it's a game they're playing. It's capitalism. That's how it works.
No. Well, I think you're spinning it with all due respect, sir. There are high-end retail stores right now, and I'm not talking about Fashion Week. I'm not talking about, people coming in from other countries accepting euros. You can do that anyway regardless. They didn't need to make it a public event. What's happening is you've got regular, everyday American stores. You can look this up. I'm not pulling this out of my ass here. You can look this up, and what they're doing is not accepting the American dollar. You can go in there with Ben Franklin's. They're not going to accept it anymore. Now, why is that? I mean, do you think that's okay?
I have not read that anywhere, and I'm on the internet every day, all the time.
Look it up, man. Look it up. It was on the New York Times. And I mean, hey, look, if it's on the New York Times...
Well, you got to believe it then.
Well, hey, they're the ones out here perpetuating this liberalist garbage, man. They're the ones that want to create this socialist, quasi-communist government that we're seeing transitioned into. So who are you voting for? Okay, let's stop talking. Who are you voting for?
I don't have a whole lot of choice. I'll vote for McCain rather than have Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama put in judges that are going to turn this country into a shithole. But that's what we've given us. And for you to decide you're going to sit out the election, which means you're not going to do anything to help the Republican the Republican Party pull itself out of this hole that it's in, Ghost. It doesn't
how am I on
the sideline and complain?
Well, the bottom line is I'm not going to participate in the destruction of this country. I mean, you have to know by the record of John McCain, you have to know this man is going to put more regulation, more government in our faces, on top of which, and I've been critical about this past tax season, that you have no tax breaks, no type of tax initiatives helping the American family, and yet you have this tax system giving $2,000 to women that have 5 or 6 kids from 5 or 6 different fathers, $2,000 a kid. And you have John McCain saying that we need more money going to those single-parent families. We need $7,000, $5,000 to $7,000 a kid. Now, do you agree with that?
No, nobody's happy with John McCain. You can go to politicalvindication.com and read post after post after post about slamming that guy.
Well, then why are you voting for him, sir?
Because I'm not going to sit out this election and opt out of the war that's going on within this country. You sitting out, that means you've opted out, man. You got no influence. You can't do a damn thing. You can cry on your show, but the rest of us are trying to turn this party around, pull it back to the right. You have to be involved, man. Conservatives have to be involved in pulling the Republican Party back to the right.
How are we going to pull?
And the blue bloods like John McCain and on the radio like Michael Medved and these guys who want to be easy on illegal immigration and they want to campaign finance reform or education with the education department. You can't opt out and then cry about it. You have to get angry and get involved in your party.
Do you understand what kind of contradiction you're saying, though, political vindication? You understand what type of hypocrisy that is? How are we going to pull it more to the right by electing a leftist Republican?
Well, how are we going to make any influence if we sit it out, Ghost?
Well, at least as a true Republican, I don't know if you're conservative, but I know you are a Republican, as a Republican that believes in less government, fiscal responsibility, who wants to be tough on the borders, who wants to continue American sovereignty. I would think that you would stand by your principles and not contribute to the destruction of this country. But instead, what you're trying to say to me and others like me who are just as disgusted that we need to hold our noses, vote against our own principles, and hope that this ridiculous liberal that is John McCain is going to somehow change his mind. He's not going to change his mind, man. He's going to use all the powers given to him via the presidency to implement his socialist government. And I'm not just talking out my ass. You can look at his legislation. All of his legislation is socialist-based. He's wiped his ass with the First Amendment with McCain-Feingold. And I don't understand how Republicans like you that are real Republicans are trying to force conservatives that stand by their principles like myself to just turn a blind eye to it. It's not helping the problem. I mean, I am not going to contribute to the destruction of America, man. I mean, how can you do so?
Because you have to be involved in the fight. You've chosen to take your vote and go home, so you don't matter anymore. The rest of us who are caught in a situation where we have John McCain taking over our party are angry as hell. We're going to do something about it. We get involved. We try to make our influence felt. That's what you have to do. You can't, I mean, it isn't 100% or nothing, Ghost. You have to play the game. It's politics. You have to get involved in the system and change your party. Sit it out. You know what? You're angry. I'm angry. There's Republicans all over this country that are angry because John McCain is in a position to take over this party. Now we can sit it out, and then have no power at all, and he won't give a damn what we say. Or we can say, all right, John McCain, there's not a whole lot we can do about you being in power, but we're going to watch every step you take, and we'll pull the rug out from underneath you if you think that you can give us the finger.
How are you going to pull the rug out from underneath him?
It's the same way we pull the rug out of underneath the Republicans with the immigration bill in Congress.
But still, the immigrants are still in this country, and they're still devaluing the American devaluing labor.
Blah blah blah. You can't solve a problem overnight, man. This is a 20, 30, 40-year battle. I mean, you're still talking about Ronald Reagan, who has an influence today, and he was president 20 years ago. Here, that's the influence, and when you sit out of a fight like this, I mean, we're fighting for our conservative lives right now, Ghost. And
I agree.
You're screaming and yelling at conservatives to step out, to give up, to surrender. In Iraq, we can't surrender in America. We got to get our balls back, man. It's our fighting. That's what we got to do.
What I'm suggesting to conservatives is to sit out presidential election because it's blatant liberalism, and all we can do is elect Congress and senators that are going to oblige themselves to conservative Republican principles. That means less government, that means fiscal responsibility, and that are proven. You see, John McCain has been proven otherwise. He's been a proven liberal. It's obvious in his legislation. Just look at the legislation with his name on it. Feingold being one of the most leftist idiots on the other side of the aisle. McCain-Lieberman. Lieberman was the 2000 vice presidential nominee for the Democrats. And then you got McCain-Ted Kennedy. I mean, come on. Do you honestly believe that he's going to give two rats' asses about the conservative movement?
Well, he'll give a lot more notice to the conservative movement than Hillary Clinton will, or Obama will. I mean, imagine we're going to have maybe 2, maybe 4 Supreme Court justices knock off over the next 4 to 8 years.
And do you believe?
Imagine Hillary Clinton putting in those judges.
Do you believe that McCain's going to put in judges that oblige themselves to the conservative principles? I don't think so.
Well, I'm worried about that too as well, but he has to answer to his base. And so at least we have some influence with him. We have no influence on Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. Hell, they're going to put in a worse than Souter. You're going to have Ginsburgs. You're going to have 3 or 4 more Ginsburgs sitting on that court because of Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton and Obama don't give a damn about what Republicans, conservatives, independents say, because they know the Democratic base is who they have to answer to every 2 to 4 years.
But you see, neither does McCain, man. McCain doesn't care either.
No, McCain has to because he needs to get reelected, and he needs a Congress to get reelected. And, you're talking about voting in senators and House people. Remember, he can't get a whole lot done unless he has backup. That's where our influence is felt. That's why it matters. Nobody likes McCain, Ghost. No conservative likes McCain. Look,
I hate the man. I hate the man. He's ruined our party, man. He's ruined the Republican Party.
He has backhanded and flipped off the base many, many times. You don't need to convince it. You can go on all day long talking about how McCain is. We've all heard it.
Well, then why am I being chastised for disrespecting the man?
Well, I don't think anybody's chastising you. People are chastising you because you're asking Republicans to surrender. That's why people get angry at you.
Hold on. We have another caller. Hold on just 1 second. I'm just going to put them on the line here, and then we can continue the conversation. Hello.
Hi, Ghost.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm just listening to Political Vindication, and I guess their reasoning behind supporting McCain, and I disagree with that 100%. I think that we as people, we do a lot better with our backs against the wall, and to vote for McCain would just be a degradation of the party even further. I mean, I think that when you constantly when you go ahead and vote for something like that, something like McCain, then you're automatically forcing the party to evolve in a way that is not natural for the party to change.
I agree with that.
You're changing it in a way that's not even really the root and the tradition of the party. I mean, when you vote for it, you're saying, okay, we're willing to concede this one. But what happens when you have to concede again and again and again? I think that's why I'm only voting for Ron Paul. I make no bones about it. But I hope that he wins. I pray that he does. But I'm also preparing myself for if he doesn't. Because I feel like when everyone's back is against the wall, everybody's force-fed all of these ideals that just degrade the society and the people even further. That's when people will finally stand up. We can't have this faux revolution with John McCain when he doesn't stand for anything that nobody believes except himself.
Now, what do you have to say about that, Political Vindication? A vote for McCain would be a vote for the transition of the Republican Party into a more liberal-based type of group of individuals.
If we only voted for people that agree with us 100% of the time, there's a whole lot of us that wouldn't be voting at all. There's no party of shame or party of ghosts. In this long-term battle, we have to fight. And, if we opt out of the fight right now, conservatives, there'll be no conservatives in the Republican Party. Right now, John McCain is being elected through primaries and caucuses by a lot of independents, a lot of moderates. He's got some conservatives who are making they think, a politically practical choice because they think he can beat Hillary Clinton. there's a lot of reasons why people are voting for John McCain. Voting for Ron Paul is like voting for the clown next door. It's not going to make any difference at all. That's opting out as well. You might as well stay home as well.
Well, I mean, do you understand? Do you understand what she's saying though? Is by voting for John McCain, we are voting for the transition of the party, and then we'll have to compromise principles that were the root foundation of the Republican Party, which was fiscal responsibility, less handouts, less government regulation, less government in our faces, which is going to be the complete opposite of what McCain is going to do.
I think hold on one second. I think because if we do vote for McCain, I think we're going to eventually have a new, how they say, I'm a Reagan Republican or a Reagan Democrat. We're going to now have, McCain Republicans. It's just going to be something that evolves, it's going to grow, and it's going to be to the point where there really is not going to be a difference between the parties.
I agree with that, man. I agree. Hold on. Before we continue on, I got another caller. Let's just see what they have to say. 516, you're on the air.
How you doing, Ghost? It's the Ozone.
How you doing, Ozone? Good to see you, or good to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm on the side of political vindication. I think that if you vote for anybody aside from the two candidates that are one of them which is gonna win, if you vote for anybody else, or if you don't vote, you're basically standing by while socialists take over control of the country. And somehow I don't understand the logic that that's going to help us in the long run, because people are going to open their eyes and see. People are not going to open their eyes and see there's going to be more control, more welfare, more social programs. McCain is not going to vote to remove the tax cuts. These Democrats will, and that's a huge difference right there. That's going to affect our entire GDP.
Well, that's what he says, Ozone, but he voted against him. I mean, I don't believe this man. This man's a liar. He's a two-faced liar, and all he is basically to continue his own political agenda. I don't know what his agenda is. I mean, if you base his political perspective on his legislation, the man is no different than Hillary Rodham or Barack Hussein Obama. And I don't understand by me, not participating in the destruction of this country by not electing this man or not voting for this man. I don't understand why I'm the bad guy. I mean, I know, look, all I have to do is look at the man's record. I know what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is once this man's president, not only is he going to continue the war, which I'm not against, by the way. I'm not against continuing the war into Iran and into Syria, but the whole principle of us going into the Middle East was to sow the seeds of democracy in the part of the world that's been subjugated by Islamic theocracy. How can we continue to be the supposed spreaders of democracy when democracy right here in America is being taken away, and it's going to be taken away with McCain, Obama, or Hillary Rodham? It really doesn't matter. So I don't understand why me giving my vote to John McCain is somehow going to save the conservative principles, the Republican principles. It's not, man.
But what about the country, though? The country. McCain says he wants to keep the tax cuts and extend them and make them permanent. He believes in that. Obama, Hillary, they don't want that. They're going to take profits from industries. They're going to redistribute wealth. They're going to put millions of more people on welfare, on social programs. Might do universal health care, and everyone will rely on universal health care. And then no matter what Republicans do, anyone that goes tries to get elected that says, I'm going to take away the universal health care, they're never going to win. There's propaganda. There's schools. They control the schools. They're going to spend more money on sending every kid to school to indoctrinate them. We're just going to fall behind. I don't see how letting the country fall into the hands of socialists it could be that we'll never get back. So I don't. Sound like a
go ahead, political vindication.
Ozone, that's a great point. But Ghost doesn't see a difference between Hillary Clinton or John McCain. So there's no use arguing with him.
There is no difference, man. I mean, he's two issues. Look, Shane, he is two issues away from being a full-out liberal. The first issue, he says he's pro-life, which I don't believe. All right? The next issue is that he wants to continue the war on terror. You take those issues away, he's a full-blown liberal. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
Well, you're not wrong in the sense that you are taking two issues, number one, that are huge issues to people. Number one, the Iraq war and facing down Islamofascism. Hillary Clinton won't do that, and Barack Obama surely won't. A pro-life issue is important for America because the Republican Party represents the defense of innocent life.
Sure.
That's what's important as well. And on tax and economic issues, John McCain is wobbly, but he understands right now how important tax cuts are, especially in an economy that's slowing down. There are a lot of problems with John McCain, but he's not Hillary Clinton. And to conflate the two, Ghost, concerns me about everything you say. I mean, we've already seen wait 1 minute. We've already seen that ghosts, when people disagree with you on an issue, even though it's very small, you call them social liberals. So your understanding of what a liberal is and what a conservative is so murky that I don't know if you actually understand the difference.
I understand the difference, my man. First of all, I'm a conservative. I was a conservative Republican. Conservative meaning I believe in the American family. I'm pro-life. I believe in the sanctity of marriage. The whole true conservative principles. When it comes to Republican, I'm for less government. I'm for less government bureaucracy. I'm for less taxes. I mean, that's what it used to be about. It's no longer about that political vindication, and that's my point. I mean, by electing McCain, you are going to change the Republican Party. It's no longer going to be the principles that used to be the foundation of our party. It's no longer about that, and by doing that, I think that not only are you going to help perpetuate this quasi-socialist government that we're transitioning to, but you're changing the face of the party by doing that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Heather.
I had to hang up and just listen. Because I think, Ghost, you have your work cut out for you. And I think both of you, I mean, from all sides, it's just going to be really hard convincing people who are really strictly for McCain and strictly against him. I mean, it's just going to be a lot of work. But I would just like to remind people that people who like to dismiss and talk about Ron Paul and say that it's a throwaway vote, I totally disagree. And I would like to remind people that there's still 7.5 months before the general election even comes up. And I think that we're bracing for a lot of things in this election and in our economy. I will fully admit that I've adopted the Ron Paul way of thinking on the economy. I think that we are entering into a lot of situations that we can't either A, afford, or it's going to be beyond our control. And it's going to either come from Iran or it's going to be going into Iran to start another war. And those are going to be the two things that are going to be crucial and that are going to absolutely affect our economy in an absolute horrific way. And I don't think that that's being underscored enough. I don't think any one of those candidates, McCain or Hillary or Obama, are even – the fact that they're not addressing it because it's not a good talking point is not good enough. People are not prepared for what's about to come.
I agree.
So that cannot be underscored. Because last night, you would have been – I felt what you experienced, Ghost, last night because I went to a chat room. I think it was Political Pistachio last night, and I got banned before I even got in there good enough. I mean, I didn't say anything, and then I was attacked by one of the people that were in the chat room, and she called me a dumb bitch out of nowhere. And I'm like, don't you understand that this economy is absolutely crumbling? I mean, there are parts of this country that are absolutely eroding below people's feet. I mean, companies are going out of business. You have GM, who has offered 47,000 people to leave their jobs. They don't anticipate all of them taking that offer. I'm not stupid to think that. But the fact that they went as far to offer 47,000 people to leave their job is kind of telling me that they're preparing to leave America eventually. And I don't think why people don't understand that, because that is the backbone of Michigan. It's the backbone of Ohio. It's the backbone of so many communities in this country. And the fact that that was initiated just a couple of weeks ago, these presidential candidates are not preparing people for what's to come next. And that's why you can say all day that my vote for Ron Paul is a waste. I don't care, because he's the only one who's underscored every single issue back to the economy where nobody even goes there. Even the war, everything that's going on right now is going to go back to the economy. And I think in the next couple of weeks we're going to see that as that border opens in Iran, and then everybody's rushing to exchange their dollar to the euro, and the dollar absolutely crumbles in the next couple of weeks. I guarantee you.
What do y'all, Ozone, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, it's like me saying I'm going to go vote for Fred Thompson because I want him, even though I know he can't win. In 1992, Bill Clinton won with 43% of the vote. He won with 43% of the vote. He became the president because the conservatives have 19% voted for Ross Perot, and they wanted to make a statement, and the 40% voted for Bush, and Bill Clinton won with 43%, and then we had Clinton for 8 years, and now we have freaking his wife, and probably in 8 years, if she wins for 8 years, we're going to deal with Chelsea.
We're going to deal with Chelsea. That's funny. Well, I mean, look, I'm a true conservative, man. I was a staunch Republican my whole entire life, and believe me, that's no short amount of years. But to see the Republican Party make this transition and to hear Republicans like yourselves, and like, look, I know y'all are smart folks. Y'all aren't like the left, Shane and Ozone. I mean, the people on the left are completely oblivious. They're anesthetized with propaganda. I have exposed it on my show that people are voting, as far as the left of the political persuasion, they're voting for ridiculous collateral issues. One woman said she's voting for Barack Obama because he has nice teeth. I had some person call in saying that he's voting for Hillary Clinton because there was no wars during Bill's administration, which is farce. But I mean, you two are intelligent people. I don't understand why you're trying to persuade me to vote against my principles, man. This man is not good for the party. Now, do I agree that it'll be a better country with Barack Hussein Obama or Hillary Rotten? Absolutely not. But by giving my vote to McCain and conservatives giving my vote to McCain, or giving their vote to McCain, they are going to vote against their principles that they'll never get back. I mean, can't y'all agree to that? Don't you understand that we're seeing a transition here, or am I wrong? Shane, go ahead.
Well, it's very frustrating to listen to you because you think in a process of all or nothing. You act as if, by voting for McCain, that the world's going to hell in a handbasket. When you don't recognize, looking at the future in the next 4 to 8 years and what the consequences are if America surrenders in Iraq or takes on the economy. You listen to Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama talk about how they want to solve the problems with the economy. And, I mean, there is absolutely no they have nothing in common with John McCain or with any Republican except maybe Lincoln Chafee or Chuck Hagel. I mean, this is a situation here where it's not who we want, but if we can have someone that 60% supports us on our issues as opposed to somebody like Hillary Clinton, and if you don't recognize the difference between the two of them, then it hardly matters having this conversation. It's the same situation with this propaganda we're hearing about our economy going to hell in a handbasket like your previous caller was talking about.
You think it's propaganda?
It's propaganda. This country, the economy, it's a free market economy. It's going to ebb and it's going to flow, and we're going to have challenges. That's what we do. That's what happens in America. The difference between America and any European country is that we don't have the government running in to try to save companies. We don't have the government coming in and having unending unemployment checks going to people. This is a free market economy. Sometimes it's going to slow down. It's going to speed up. That's what happens. 15 different times over the last 30 years, this economy has dipped.
But can you not agree? I'm sorry, Shane. Can you not agree that the devaluing of this current American dollar is so low that it's the lowest point that we've ever seen in our American history?
Yes, it's a real problem.
So, I mean, how are we going to rectify that problem if we don't underscore it as far as our candidates making it a focal issue of their candidacy? I mean,
how are we going to solve that problem, Ghost, by allowing Hillary Clinton to become the president of the United States?
I don't think it is going to be solved. Believe me, I am not for Hillary.
Well, you are. By sitting out, you are saying, go ahead, Hillary, take it. You may not be giving it to her, but you're saying, go ahead, Hillary, take it. Because I'm angry that I didn't get 100% of what I wanted. So go ahead.
Look, I'm not mad that I didn't get 100% of what I wanted. I am not getting even 5% of what I wanted when it comes to John McCain. This man goes against the Republican principles, man. I mean, don't you understand? The Republican principles used to be about less government bureaucracy, less government regulation. I mean, John McCain wiped his ass with the First Amendment with McCain-Feingold. It's one of the most unconstitutional bills that has ever been put forth by a senator. And you expect me to believe that this man is going to somehow stay true to screw the conservative principles, the Republican principles for that matter. You honestly want me to believe that he's going to continue on with that? No, he's not, man. Go ahead.
Ghost, I want you to love your country enough that you'll do what it takes to stop Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama from becoming president. I want you to love your country so much, sir, that you'll do what's right. It doesn't feel good. Sometimes we don't get what we want. I'm not happy, Frank. Nobody's happy about McCain, but look at the consequences. Love your country, sir, and protect it. Because if Hillary Clinton gets into office or Barack Obama gets into office, Jesus Christ, man, what is the world going to look like?
Believe me, I'm just as concerned as you are, but I don't see a difference.
You're not. You're willing to roll the dice, brother. You're willing to roll the dice.
Roll the dice? What are you talking about? I am not going to let a liberal take over the Republican Party. I'm not going to do it.
You're sitting out and you're telling other people to do the same. That's rolling the dice. That's giving Hillary Clinton an open lane. That's all I'm saying. I'm not happy about pulling the lever for John McCain. It breaks my heart what's happening to this party. But I'm not going to sit beside and watch Hillary Clinton dancing. Can you imagine our soldiers having to salute Hillary Clinton?
Hey, I don't even want to imagine it. Believe me, I am just as unhappy as you are when it comes to these left-wing long hairs. I don't want these idiots giving us a quasi-communist socialist government. But we're not going to get anything different with McCain, man. That's what I'm saying. And if we do vote this man in, we are going to transition not only the country but the face of our party. Conservative principles are no longer going to be anything as far as the Republicans are concerned, and no longer is Republican Party going to be about less government regulation, less taxes, less government interference. On the contrary, it's going to perpetuate the complete opposite. And Heather, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one quick thing. I mean, that's absolutely disturbing to me that somebody would say that the devaluing of the dollar is a talking point. I think it's an issue that people need to know about because it's not on the regular news. It's not something that you see, except if you maybe watch, CNBC for all 8 hours, when the stock market is open. That's the only way you're going to hear like a, 15-second blimp about how the dollar has fallen again against the euro. I think that is a very valid point because I don't think people understand that people don't understand this economy and what it is. The economy is worse now than it was in the Great Depression. I'll explain to you why, and could potentially be worse than the Great Depression, and I will explain to you why. Because the Great Depression, keep in mind, we made something in the Great Depression. We were a manufacturing country at that time. All we have now are service industries. 50 to 65% of people work in some form of the service industry or another. I work in the service industry as insurance. Who is going to be able to buy this service when nobody has any money and the dollar is so devalued to where it's going to cost us $100 just to get a hamburger? The industry is so much different than it was in the Great Depression. I think people are missing that fact that we were able to rebound because when the Great Depression happened here, it happened in a lot of fronts around the world.
Unfortunately, Shane, I don't know, I guess he clicked off. I don't know what it comes down to, but you see, this goes to what I was saying earlier. I challenged Political Vindication to call up and talk about the devaluing of the American dollar, and yet once we bring it up once again, what happens? He runs away. Wow. And I want to ask Ozone, because Ozone's a real economic mind. He's always talking about production. He's always talking about we need to produce, and that's why I listen to his show, because he's got great views. But at the same time, can you see where I'm coming from and Heather's coming from when it comes to the lack of production, the devaluing of the American dollar, the exportation of American jobs, the devaluing of the cost of labor because of illegal immigration? Do you understand what kind of economic footing we're in? And we're going to give this to John McCain, who's not said one iota about how he's going to fix it? Ozone, go ahead.
Well, I believe that John McCain wants to extend the tax cuts. He wants less government spending. He wants less pork. He understands a lot of reasons why the dollar devalues. Dollar is relative. I mean, if other countries like India and China are now producing more because they really didn't produce much, they have so much opportunity and they're growing and they're using all the new advancements of the world to advance themselves. When their dollar grows, when their money grows, just by default, because it's all relative, ours will relatively come down. We were the strongest power in the world. We were so far above everyone else. When I used to go to Israel, for example, and they used to buy my 10-year-old sneakers for $150 because they had nothing over there. We were producing everything. But now these countries are producing. So just by the fact that a lot of these countries are producing, the value of our dollar is going to go down. But the key thing is that we have to produce more. We have to reduce regulation, reduce taxes. That's going to raise our value of our production. We got to stop spending, we got to cut down on the national debt. We spend $400 billion on the debt. That's freaking every year. That's pulling down the value of the dollar. We need capitalism and we need basically conservative values when it comes. Politics and economics should have nothing to do with each other. That's what I believe.
Well, I mean, do you agree that, at least agree with me, that McCain hasn't acknowledged any of this crap?
I couldn't tell you.
He hasn't acknowledged it. When he was talked about the economy, he chuckled and said, well, that's not one of my strong points. I mean, do we need that kind of a person who has no idea what he's talking about economically as the President of the United States? Now, look, because I say that doesn't mean I'm for Hillary Rodham or Barack Hussein Obama. And anybody who's listened to my show long enough knows I hate all these people on the left. These people are nut jobs, and I acknowledge that. But once again, it goes again to what I've been saying all along. The left has infiltrated the Republican Party. And what I'm afraid of is I wanted a Republican that was going to go into office and it was going to spawn some sort of economic stimulus, not artificially by giving our tax dollars away. And this is what I have to disagree with George Bush on. I think that we're going down a slippery slope into socialism, like I've stated previous, with this stimulus package. But we need somebody who knows the economy, that understands that we need to produce. You're right, Ozone. We do need to produce something. I mean, we need somebody, a president that's going to organize private industry, who's going to organize the best minds in America and tell these people what do we need to do to produce, to increase production, to create jobs, to bring back some of the means of production that are outside of the United States and bring them back into the United States. And another thing, not only do we have nothing to produce in America, and it's a good point what Heather was bringing out. I mean, most of the people that are employed in America are employed in service industry. The only thing we produce as an American society is entertainment and cheeseburgers. I think that it's very dangerous to sit here and have somebody who's completely naive of the economy go in there and expect him to go in and kick ass. First of all, he's already said that he wants to put more government bureaucracy in the hands of our government. And I refuse to allow a Republican to take us along down that road. Republicans used to be about less government, less taxes, less government regulation. And now it's the complete opposite. Now, I just don't understand why. Ozone, please tell me. You're a very rational human being. And please don't tell me it's because I don't want, I mean, is it better for Hillary or Obama to be in office? No, it's not. I spit on those people. But why should I and other conservatives that are out there that are completely disgusted, not only conservatives, but old school Republicans that are not going to vote, why should we vote for this man when he has made no concession, no type of articulation, nothing that is going to help the betterment of the American person?
It's basically this argument is basically based on something. It's all relative. Just like in France, there's countries like France where they're so liberal over there, and there's conservatives who might believe that, like us, that the government shouldn't be involved. But they don't have a choice. If they have a choice between McCain and another liberal, they will be throwing a party if they had a choice like McCain. Their right-wing choice is far left of McCain. You know, so it's all relative. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, but people died for our freedom, to keep us free, to keep us out of socialism. The dictator starts saying exactly, these Democrats say exactly what dictators say. Get the poor against the rich. We're going to freaking take over industries. McCain doesn't talk like that. That's how the Democrats are talking. And to stand by and just say, oh, I'm not going to do something that I can, like vote against them and vote for the other party. I don't care if it's a dog. I'm voting for the dog. You can't just stand by and watch the other one win and say, oh, even if I vote for another party, you can't just sit. You're just basically sitting by and not stopping socialists from taking over. I mean, our soldiers fought and risked their lives, gave their lives for freedom, so we wouldn't be taken over by socialists, Russia, all these people that fought for freedom. And if you don't vote, you're standing by and watching socialists just take over. And I don't think we're going to get it back in our lifetime if they do.
Well, and you think that John McCain isn't going to be a socialist either?
Not more than Bush, but still, it's better than it's still better. We have a choice. This is the choice. Sometimes you have a choice. Like the Jews in Germany, when they were in the ghettos, they either had a choice to throw a rocket or to throw a bottle. That was their choice, so they had to choose one. And that's all. These are the choices we have. Life isn't always a picnic, and it could be worse, and it might get worse a lot of people, Ron Paul is spreading a lot of good messages about how economics should work. People are getting more involved. But the battleground here is on the colleges, in the media, and in Hollywood. And then the other thing is the government giving out more handouts, because once they start giving out handouts, those are votes. Even if people say, I know this isn't the best way, they still don't want to give up they want the rich to pay for things for them if they can. So
I agree.
We're not going to get out of it. It's not going to, the message, if you want to send the message, let's do it. You send good messages, but not by not voting.
All right. Hey, Heather, you want to chime in?
Oh, I was just thinking, and I just going back to his statement about how, what's his name, McCain wants to keep the tax cuts, and not, repeal them at all. I think that it goes way beyond tax cuts at this time. It has to go beyond tax cuts because we have so many regulations on companies that people don't want to grow here anymore. People are, because of all the cost of just doing business here, why not go to India? I feel that kind of, it goes against what America's all about. I mean, we have a country that we're supposed to be able to, it's run by the people, everything like that, but it's not when we have all these regulations. I think that you can keep these tax cuts all day, and that's fine and well, but when you have all these regulations on companies, they're still going to start leaving, especially the manufacturing companies, because, I think we need to stop with the environmental clauses that keep companies from growing, because that's just detrimental. I think anything that people want to make, I think that they should be able to make it, because I guess I'm letting my own views pervert what I'm saying, because I don't believe in global warming at all.
I don't believe it either. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Heather. I don't believe in global warming, and you've got this socialist McCain that believes it. As a matter of fact, he is all for carbon tax. You know what that means? We're going to be charged for breathing.
Wow.
Okay. Do you know about this, Ozone?
No, I don't think we're going to be charged for breathing.
Oh, well, that's what carbon is, man. Carbon emissions.
Carbon footprint. He needs to, ozone. It's called your carbon footprint.
Right.
So
and we're going to be taxed based on how much we weigh, how tall we are. The whole carbon footprint issue. And you know what these idiots, and I hate all these environmental nut jobs, and I think it was one of the creators of Greenpeace that suggested recently that he's admitted it. He said that 80% of the green movement are all socialists. They're blatant socialists. You can look this up if you don't believe me. And he said the other 20% are so fanatical about this environmental garbage that it's actually a religion to them. They're actually killing people. These are the freaked out nut jobs that are, blowing up logging companies. They're putting in big pieces of metal inside of trees so that when the loggers, use their chainsaws to cut down the trees, they'll hit the piece of metal that's inside the tree. The metal will cut the chainsaw. It'll ricochet and kind of explode in their faces, giving them all kinds of shrapnel. I don't know if you know this is happening, but believe me, that this is what's happening. This whole environmental garbage is just, it's what it is. It's garbage. And I'd like people to do their own research and understand that, I understand that the ice caps are melting, but it has nothing to do with man. If you look at the ice caps in Mars, the ice caps in Mars are receding at an even faster rate than those on right here on Earth. Excuse me. And the reason is because the sun is getting hotter. It has nothing to do with our supposed carbon footprint. Now, this goes back to John McCain. This man is for a carbon tax, on top of which he wants to raise taxes on gasoline. He wants to put an extra 50 cents or some garbage on tax or on gasoline. And on top of which he wants to tax us for breathing, carbon emissions, the whole 9 yards. How is that Republican? How is that conservative, Ozone?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly what his proposal is, but what about businesses, for example? What if there's businesses that are really putting out a lot of pollution? Maybe is he talking about individuals, or is he
talking about every individual? Everybody. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I was going to say one really quickly, because I know that your time is going short, and I know you want to wrap it up probably soon, so I'll hang up after this comment.
Okay.
But I tell people that understand that it's really difficult to defend global warming, because you have to look at people like Al Gore. These are people who are making it their business to tell us how to live, while Al Gore spends $44,000 a year to light his home. That's just I mean, it's like this, I'm tired of people telling me what I need to do. When they're doing something, they make sure that every light is on in their house. I mean, I just don't understand. And it goes way beyond. I mean, the only part of pollution that I am against is dumping. That's the only thing I'm against, because dumping it's ruined a lot of, impoverished parts of this country, especially in the ghettos. No dumping. Other than that, as long as it's away from home, I think companies and corporations should be able to admit whatever they need to be able to make this economy run on its own, independent of what everybody else is doing around the world. And one last thing, we need to start drilling in ANWR sufficiently so that we can get off foreign oil. That would be enough. There is an estimate of up to 200 years worth of oil in ANWR as we speak. And the only reason why we can't get there is because, there are some animal, I think it's a buffalo, there's only like 200 in the world of them, and they're up there. And because there's a small village of like 700 people, that's the only two reasons why we can't drill up in ANWR. And I think that we can go back to the people that are the people that are really into the environment and all that. They probably went up there and influenced those people to make it so that we can't sufficiently drill up there. But ANWR is our key to be able to be independent on oil while we look for other forms of energy. People need to realize global warming does not exist.
I agree. Do you have a blog or something you wanna promote there, Heather?
Just if you click on my name, you'll be able to go to my page here on Blog Talk Radio. I have like shows just not really even planned, so you'll get maybe a 5-minute warning. But I just basically go over the issues of the day, what concerns me, which is 100% of the time the economy. So if people just add me as your favorite, and I'll add you as a favorite, and we can just see what everybody's talking about, even if I don't agree with you.
I agree. Well, thanks a lot, Heather.
Have a good night.
You too. And Ozone, you want to give us a last word in your show, the whole nine?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Also, I'm the Ozone from Political Intervention. Add me to the favorites because I don't schedule my shows in advance. If you want to get notification, just add me as your favorite. And Ghost, thanks for having me. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you very much, Ozone. Hope you have a show here this evening.
I'll try.
All right, man. You have a good one.
All right.
Well, you see, folks, I mean, we've had some pretty good discourse, and, political vindication, once again, once we kind of cornered him on the economy, he hung up. He just hung up. He didn't even want to respond. Because I don't blame him for not wanting to respond, because the American dollar is crippling down the tubes. We're going down a path where the American dollar is just going to be a damn piece of paper. All right? I mean, our economy is going to be sold on the world market to the highest bidder. I mean, I guarantee it. Unless we start getting a little bit more fiscal responsible, unless we start bringing back production back to America, unless we start creating jobs, creating industry, creating innovation right here in America, we're going to continue to see not only the devaluing of the American dollar, but we're going to see the ruining of American society. And we are seeing a transition right here from what we know of as America, which is our constitutional republic based on democracy. We're going to see that wither away into a quasi-communist socialist government. And we're going to see handouts on a consistent basis. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Like I said, it really doesn't matter who you vote for. Don't listen to these Republicans that are claiming that, hey, if we vote for John McCain, it's the less of two evils. Well, why does it have to be the less of two evils? I mean, the bottom line is, and none of these Republicans can tell me this because it's based on John McCain's record. John McCain is a blatant liberal. He wants to put more government regulation on our lives. He wants to put government in our faces. He doesn't know one iota about the economy. He doesn't know what to do about the economy, folks. And what is he going to do? He's going to implement some more of the socialist garbage that we're coming to know and love from our government. I mean, this economic stimulus package, okay? I understand that all these folks out in America need this money. Believe me, I understand it. But this is a slippery slope down socialist path. That's what it is, folks. We don't need handouts from the government to make us live better. We need more jobs, okay? We need more better opportunity for employment. We need better wages out here, and the only way we're going to rectify this problem is if we get better trade deals in the international community, stop doing business with that ridiculous communist China, and relinquish this ridiculous NAFTA program. All right? This NAFTA has sent more jobs across the border, and yet you still have people coming across our border to take away the service industry jobs that are barely left for the American person. That's what I'm saying, folks. I mean, the 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country right now are devaluing the cost of labor. You compound that with all the jobs that are being exported out of America. Remember that, folks. We have had millions upon millions of manufacturing and textile jobs leave America for these third world countries like China, like Mexico, and other such geopolitical areas. All right? They are exporting these jobs out of America, and what are these Americans to do? Well, they got to go out and find new jobs. Well, what jobs are there out there? We don't produce anything anymore. America produces nothing but entertainment and cheeseburgers. So you have a better shot at becoming a gangster rapper than you do going out and getting a damn job that's going to support you and your family out here. And that's not a bunch of BS, folks. That's a fact. And you see, in the service industry, you got to compete with the 20 million illegal immigrants that are willing to work 25 cents on the dollar. And that devalues the cost of labor. So not only are you competing with the international market with communist China, and let me tell you something, communist China is utilizing this ridiculous doctrine of Marxism or communism or Leninism, whatever they're using, they're utilizing this doctrine to extort. They are extorting labor out of their people, making them work 15 to 20 hours a day for 20 cents, 10 cents an hour, whatever the hell it is. How are you going to compete with that on the world market when you've got a country that is extorting labor like that from their people? And they're allowing businesses to set up shop there. How can you compete with that? You can't. You cannot compete with that. How can you compete with 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country illegally that are being hired at 25 cents on the dollar? How can you compete with that, folks? You can't do it. You can't do it, and that's why I'm advising all of you people that are out there, you need to wake up, you need to take your head out of your ass and stop with this party loyalty garbage. You need to stop. Just because you're not voting for McCain doesn't make you any less of a Republican. You're only sticking by your principles. And what are the Republican principles, folks? The Republican principles are less government, less taxes, less government regulation, less government in our faces. That's what the Republicans used to be about. They used to talk about the issues. Now they're resorting to the same methods of agitation as those communists on the left. I mean, haven't you noticed those people that are on the left of the political persuasion, if you disagree with them, there's no discourse, there's nothing but personal attacks, four-letter words, and all those methods of agitation? Now you're starting to see it to the people on the right of the political persuasion. You're starting to see it from Republicans. That's because the Republican Party has been hijacked by liberals. That's why I say, and I will continue to say, and I don't care what type of garbage these people try to shove down my hole, by voting for John Turncoat McCain is no different than voting for Barack Hussein Obama or Hillary Rotten Clinton. I don't care what anybody says. It's a fact. That's all there is to it. And this is why it's a scary time in America, folks. It's a scary time. You got shops in New York City's high-end retail store out there that are basically not allowing you to spend your own American dollar at their shops. You've got shops in New York City that are no longer accepting a Benjamin Franklin, folks. They're no longer accepting money. They're accepting euros. They're accepting only euros and not American dollars in America, folks. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares about it. None of these candidates are talking about it. None of these candidates are talking about how it's hard for American people to get by in this country. I mean, you compound all the jobs that are being exported out of America, you compound that with the devaluing of the cost of labor by the 20 million illegal immigrants that are in here, and then we wonder why it's so hard for Americans to get by in this country. This used to be the bastion. I'm talking about America. We used to be the bastion of economy. We used to be the bastion of innovation. We used to be the bastion of everything. Now, what are we? We have been reduced to a consumer-based society, an absolute consumer-based society. We produce nothing anymore, folks, absolutely nothing. And unless we rectify this situation, our country is going down the tubes. Anyway, folks, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in with me. I really appreciate your patronage. Whether you like me, whether you hate me, it really doesn't matter. I just hope that you take some of the points that I bring up on this program and just talk about it. You know, just talk about it with your friends. Talk about it with your family. I mean, these are very important issues. I believe in the America, okay, the America that was built on freedom, the Constitution, the inalienable rights that were given to us by our forefathers. I just agree in the American dream. And the only way we're going to continue to perpetuate the American dream is if we talk about these issues and educate ourselves instead of looking at a damn boob tube for all of our information and news. Anyway, folks, if you can, listen to me in the archive. Go to www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. Check out some of our shows in the archive, and if you can, email them out to people that you know. Say, hey, look, listen to this guy. We have an email option. Email them out. Anyway, folks, thank you for listening. God bless this country. God bless all of you. Long live the conservative movement, and death to feminism. And I'm out.
Blog Talk Radio.
Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.